Steve, yeah, hey.
Well,
Howdy. Steve,
hey,
hello. Hello to everybody out there as well. Welcome to
hello.
Almost in the Books, ladies and gents.
When
October's
September
upon
ends,
us.
wake me up.
Wake me up. Yeah, when September ends. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, welcome everybody. Before we get rolling here, just want to get the legal mumbo jumbo out of the way. Just want to make everybody aware of the fact that all the info that we share with you in this webinar or any of the other webinars that we have coming at you on a weekly basis is for educational purposes only, simply meaning if you need investment advice, what to buy, when to buy it, when to sell it, all that good stuff, that's not what we're doing here. If you do need that type of advice, please seek out someone like a registered investment advisor or a Series 7 licensed stockbroker, someone who's licensed to dispense, buy, and sell information and just investment information in general to you. So once again, everything that we share with you guys in these webinars is for educational purposes only. And always like to take a little time here at the top of the hour, talk about the community that we've fostered around the tech that is TI Pro. And of course, everybody's probably already familiar with the Trading Room, hosted by none other than Barry Einerson. It's a great place to be. It doesn't matter where you are in the trading process, beginner, intermediate, or advanced. It's a great place to be. Not only because of Barry, but because of the content that's generated in there between Barry, some of the other senior traders, as well as the price, which is $0.00. So if you've shopped around the web for trading rooms, you probably noticed that most of the ones that are worth their salt are not free, but ours is. So if you haven't been using it, by all means, get in there and check it out. Every other Monday, you're going to get myself with Steve for the Office Hours webinar. Steve's going to take the helm every other Tuesday for the trade of the week, and Mr. Andy Lindloff is going to ride shotgun with him. Get on over to Hump Day, and we get our CEO and founder, Mr. Dan Merkin, along with Brad Williams in there, typically giving you a peek at new features coming down the pipeline, technology-oriented, so forth and so on. Always fun with those two. Andy's going to round out the 5 o'clock Eastern webinars with the Thursday Trading Studio, and I ride shotgun with him. Of course, every weekday, Monday through Friday, we have our daily support session from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern, a great place to get any question regarding Trade Ideas Pro answered in a live environment with a different person just about each and every day. So the next slide here should show you how to get there. Let me get my pointer activated. There we go. Daily support session. This is hosted on our YouTube channel. So just bookmark this address down here, trade-ideas.com live. Same bat time, same bat channel every day, starting at 12 p.m. Eastern. Lastly, a great educational resource is the TI University Beginners 101. Very crucial, especially when you're new to the software. 101 and 201. If you care to get into the more advanced functionality, back testing and things of that nature, well, then 301 and 401 you might want to check out as well. But for certain, if you're new to the product, these will really help you get over the learning curve, just learning the basic mechanics of some of the basic windows and things of that nature. So TI University, which can be accessed from our YouTube, Trade Ideas YouTube channel, and you can start and stop those videos whenever you feel like it. And moving right along, I got some interesting things to talk about as far as long opportunities today, especially considering the market dynamics, should we call it that, Steve? Or the market action for the majority of the day.
Yeah.
Got a little interesting, but found a little purchase at what is apparently support for now,
I
which
got
is
some thoughts on
probably
that.
a good time for you to take it, Steve. If you want to talk about that a little bit, I'll kick the puck over to you here.
Kicking pucks, or you? All right.
Or slap the puck over to you.
The puck.
Throw the ball.
All right. So I and enlarge these two charts here because I really want to kind of look at both daily and 15 minutes one at a time. I'm going to start with the daily. And again, one of the reasons I'm going to focus on the SPY is just real quickly focus on this area right here. Notice that the S&P was a bit more weaker today. This was the one that decided to come down and rattle the cages and test everybody. As you can see, the NASDAQ had a different deal. It was not testing new lows. So with that said, let's key today off only the S&P via the SPY. So there's a lot going on in many time frames here. And I just got one of those 40,000 hours sick feelings in my stomach. If you read the trade of the week, you realize the trade of the week is cash. And this one could get interesting. We're heading right into October, seasonal difficult times as especially as third quarter ends, and who knows, I don't want to get into the news, I just read charts. But back here, that's about as perfect of a kiss that the algorithms and the quant funds could do, kissing the 200 moving average in the SPY. Came down, total rejection at the 10, just kind of rehashing this for you all. Bit sloppy, but a rejection nonetheless right off that 20. And since then, the 10 has had a hold of the price action. Now, I want to go back to Friday because I, along with a lot of people, thought that, this when you get stuck on candles, and this is a great reason to not just study candles, because, a lot of times I fully would have expected that there was going to be a bounce today. When you see that kind of a wick, let me clear that hash there. When you see that kind of a wick going on the, there we go, on a nice reversal. And when I say reversal, I'm talking the 10 SMA is way up here. So we've got all this no man's land. That's just asking for a reversion to the mean many times. And I fully expected today for us to break through that and start to work ourselves back up and maybe have another rendezvous with the armpit, as I call it. Because this market is ugly, it's under pressure, there's no bull case to be made. If you're buying bottoms, you're picking bottoms. If you're doing that, that's okay. Just make sure you have a reason, which brings us to the S&Ps. What did they do? They dove down here and practically did a retest of these lows back in June. So then Friday, we actually, is this Friday? Yeah, Friday we set these lows here. So today there was kind of an opening range bounce. And in bear markets, this is what they do. They try to fake, we are in a bear market, by the way, there's no argument. They try to fake you in to the buy side early on the morning, and then the sellers say, this is where I need to start taking my maximized profits, and bang, 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 all the way down to, there's that one wick there. This is what the algorithms do. They tested yesterday's low, and then they bounced, tested. If there was a real bounce to be had and to really work off that hammer candle we had on Friday, I would have expected a nice close back up here around 370. But you know what I'm seeing? I'm seeing what I've seen before in bear markets. And I'm just going to zoom out a little bit here. We're pretty much below this 5-day moving average, which is extremely momentum involved. Take a quick look at Fed day here. We popped up into moving. I think we talked about we're in a holding pattern until the Fed says what they do. And the Fed says something and the stupid algorithms try and react to it, and then they reverse it. And then so when you look at that, the 130-day held minus the volatility of the algorithms, pop down here, nothing, a lower gap. So what I'm starting to see is what I've seen before, Jamie. It's the bouncing basketball, bounce, bounce, bounce. It's just looking for a reason to try and take this out. I think we're going to be testing these lows here real soon, if not even overnight. Lastly, I'll just give you, my gut feeling. I don't know where the heck some of these bounces were coming in the SPY today. Like if I zoom in here, like, let me go back to SPY real quick, but I still want to see this. These green candles. I was watching my SPY watcher here all day long, new highs and new lows. And I was like, oh, really? Where's that SPY green candle coming from? Because I'm not seeing anything. Anything that we were trading today was just getting squashed after the open. Now, I'm just going to leave you with this. Technically, we're oversold, but sometimes really nasty things can stay oversold longer than you can stay sane or solvent. Imagine, if you will, you're still holding on to your longs. By the way, I've exited my longs a while ago. I'm in just a few things, hardly any exposure at all. But a lot of people aren't doing that. They're in hope mode. Oh man, I just need that bounce to get out. Oh yeah, that's what everybody says. I just need that bounce to get out so I can get up here and sell. I don't even think we're going to get that bounce based on everything I've been talking about, the feel, the gut, the momentum. So imagine, if you will, put yourself in the shoes, and maybe some of you are, where you haven't taken anything off, you haven't taken any risk off, you're a deer in the headlights and you're waiting for that bounce. What if we gap down tomorrow and start selling? Everybody sees this. Everybody sees the failed test. It could get ugly. I don't know if it's going to. I'm not saying it's will, but we're due for a reversion to the mean, but we can't really seem to get one. So just be very careful out there. If you're buying dips, buy them in 1/4 positions. Just dip your toe in the water. And if we do get a reversal, then you'll be okay. But if we don't, then you have a low risk entry exit to get out. Dave, the Qs are stronger. They were a bit more defined on the way down in that they were weaker. They couldn't even touch their 200 back here when the SPYs did. But I feel, there's nothing safe. If once the thing start to go, if it does, there's nothing safe. It's just the NASDAQ's holding on a little stronger. It might be the financials and the energy and some other things. There might be a lot of enthusiasm in that last tech bounce that tried to buy, who knows? But the S&P is showing a bit more weakness. The NASDAQ is showing a bit more relative strength. So I guess I would finish by saying, if there is a bounce, maybe you do want to focus on the NASDAQ because it gave us a nice kind of a comparison today. It did not go to lows to test Friday. So that's enough. That's pretty much where we are. I'm not bullish, but more power to you if you want to nibble something.
Yep, good stuff, Steve. Let me get the screen back here. Okay, one moment. Well, it's not giving me my drop down. Hold on. There we go.
Right,
Okay.
there you go.
All right. Let me move something around here. Okay. All right. So to Steve's point, obviously, we're just looking at 5-minute candles here, the pre-market, these big wicks up here, and look like for a minute, hey, we're going to bounce. But as Steve pointed out on the daily, nope, not to be had. They lure you in with a little piece of bread and then they pop you on the head. And that's exactly, if we just take a look at these are the big cap compare count readings after the first 15 minutes. So even looking at the compare counts going with this little run up, thinking to yourself, hey, well, this might be the bounce, but nope, it was just a head fake, okay? So we're going to see that pattern repeated over and over again when we start looking at the majority of these stocks that I've got queued up to take a look at from the races today. So we'll be getting into that soon. As far as poor Holly goes, well, not a whole lot to report on today. There's not anything in any of these categories. There's no conservative versus moderate spread. There's no decent trade arounds. I believe, let's see, let's just look at the damage here real quick. 2 stop hits today, and both of those stocks held well below the stop areas. So they did not act as areas of support. Let's see. No, something weird's going on with my mouse here, Steve. Notice it says A up there, but SPY is still on my charts. Let me see if I can.
Did you feed the mouse?
I don't know.
Are you freezing? Was your
Yeah,
platform freezing?
I'm trying to input a symbol manually, and it's.
Give it a second. It seems like this new dev version could be a
It's
little
like
buggy.
delayed. Okay.
Yeah,
Wow, that was weird.
get used
Okay.
to it. I think the
Let
new
me.
dev version has some issues. We'll see.
Okay. Well, at least we got the symbol change there. But as you can see on this Agilent trade, once that stop loss was hit, it is well below it most of the day, and we're going to see the same thing with PLNT. That's weird because I never saw that issue all day today. PLNT, stop loss hit. Yeah, it tagged it for a little bit, but underwater most of the day.
Probably
So
because you're sharing your screen.
Because I'm sharing?
Yeah, it might be. If you haven't seen it all day, now that you're sharing and it's doing it, it could be a bit of
Yeah,
a
could be,
conflict.
could be.
Yeah.
hopefully it will cease. Okay, so just not a good day for Holly, not really anything to showcase because none of these categories existed today. Certainly no add-ons, no trade arounds, no conservative versus moderate spread. So get well, Holly. We'll see you tomorrow. Okay, so we're going to kind of continue here. Well, not kind of, but actually continue. As everybody knows, races are a relatively new addition to TradeIt Pro. And we're still refining them and the way that we use them, as all the trainer people here as well, along with just users in general. I've been having a lot of good conversations with some of my older trading buddies that I've turned on to the races, and they're finding some really, in other words, scalping is back. Also too, we've had the advent of zero commission, which, makes a huge difference when you're trading, right? And the more you trade, the bigger of a difference it makes. So finding ways to scalp using the stock races, especially in a market that we have right now, which, by the way, I'm pretty much 100% scalping. I'm not really holding anything overnight right now, and will remain in that state until whatever I'm doing is not working. However, there's plenty of things to look at from today. So what we're going to do here, and when I'm talking about the races, I'm still talking about the same ones that I've had since last office hours webinar. Over here on the left, we've got one of Andy's top list, Dawn of the Dead, which has been producing some pretty decent winners today. Let's take a look at this top one up here, Milko, coming across 89 times today and was just a monster for the first, little while of the market there. We've got the change in 1 minute, and we've got positive change from open. Now, I started watching a new one today, trying to find stocks that are a little bit more liquid. So this is a duplicate of positive change from the open, but hopefully finding stocks that are a little bit more liquid, that are trading at least 1 million shares a day. So we'll take a look at some of the ones that came out of here today as well. And I'll share that one if anybody wants it towards the end here. So what I've done today, I was going to list all of the stocks here, but I just went ahead and created a little spreadsheet so it would be easier for you guys to follow along. But the theme is the same, using the stock races to streamline the methodology for finding orbs with adequate volume. 41 symbols is what I collected within the first hour today. And that process is very simple. Boom, the market opens. And since I'm watching 1 minute races on all of my races, you just sit there and watch for the winners. And it's a real simple process here. Let's say that was the first stock that came around. IMPX wasn't in the first hour, but if I liked it, if it was coming across in the opening hour, maybe it was the first stock, second stock, third stock, but you're going to have a group of winners every minute. And the process just goes, click on it, click up here on my like symbols, and then it's added, right? Simple process. But I collected 41 symbols from my stock races within the first hour, and then I just give it a rest. You could keep adding and catch the ones that come later, but with a little universe of 41 stocks there, it keeps me plenty busy, and it's easier to manage that smaller universe. Usually it's been coming around 30, anywhere between 35 and 50 within the first hour. So there are two types of setups that we're going to cover today. The early setups, which could be anywhere from the opening ding, ding, ding of the bell up until 15 minutes. That's what I'm calling early setups, simply because, even watching 5-minute candles on the open, 1 minute candles, 2, 3, whatever, you still have to have a minimum amount of candles to form a pattern. But having said that, the early setups, what are we talking about here? We're talking about basing our risk level, because we got to know what we're going to, if we're wrong, how much are we willing to lose? And I'm typically using the pre-market range for that. So instead of popping all the stocks into here, what I've done is I've created a spreadsheet, which hopefully I didn't close. There we go. All right. So just a simple spreadsheet. You can see 41 stocks. I didn't start the first sell here, so we're down here at 42. And what I've done is I've just put a pre-market. Was it a viable pre-market trade? And after the regular session was in play, did it set up in the regular session? So if it did, I put an asterisk in the field here. So as you can see here, out of 41 stocks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Only 13 of them had what I call, potential. Some in the pre-market, and then some in the pre and the regular session. So let's just start taking a look here. Let's take, we'll go ahead and look at Milco. And by the way, let me pull over my liquid race here too. We'll just kind of park it up here for a minute. Milco was on this one. Milco was on this one. Yeah, and it wasn't on the top 10 on these other ones because these guys over here are typically looking at the smaller stocks. But this one being Dawn of the Dead and this one being the thicker ones, Milco was on it as well. So let's take a look at Milco. Now, when we're talking about pre-market ranges, man, it's hard to get any better than what you see right here in the pre-market. I mean, beautiful. So I believe this one, what was our high right here on the pre-market tick? 604, and we opened just below that at 602. So if you saw this guy right off the open and you saw how it was just cracking that pre-market range and the risk was so tiny, down here was the low, 560, and we're looking up here. It's a 40-cent risk on a low dollar stock, but it certainly paid off today. And depending on your, if you want to play by the rules, I'm marking off this little blip over here. But just like we talk about wicks on candles, I mean, most people's eyes are going to go right here, okay? Or maybe to the low of that wick right there. So realistically speaking, risking about a quarter on a $6 stock there, and it paid off well. I mean, this thing just ripped for approximately the first hour, but as we're going to see on more of these charts moving forward, once they topped out and the SPY started rolling over, there weren't a whole lot of things that maintained the range and tested higher highs towards the close. There's always a few, but Milco being a very liquid stock today, a nice risk area and a very juicy reward area in Milco. So not a bad one. And the volume, how are we looking on volume today? Well, just finished with a meager 10.75, and for pretty much most of the day, that 5-minute volume was off the charts. So once I see a decent pattern or a good setup, looking at these numbers here, and the higher the better. I forget what the one was on Friday off the top of my head, but another example of extremely high relative volume. And anytime you see that 5-minute volume jacked up above 1,000 for most of the day, that tells you that the buyer is really there. It's going to take its ebbs and flows and its wiggles, but definitely a buyer in Milco today. All right, let me clear these guys off. And what else did we have on the plate today? Okay, so, whoops. Wrong sheet, Jamie. Okay, but notice, straight run up, it never really set up crisply for, say an opening range break in the capacity that I typically like to see them. Like to see a little bit of consolidation, maybe, at least 4 or 5-minute candles, 25, 30 minutes or so, but Milco just was tearing the whole morning. So it was a good runner with low risk based around that pre-market area. HLGN, let's go ahead and take a look at that one. Once again, we see the same thing here. Entry candle coming right there, breaking that pre-market range, not having to risk too much here. What do we got there? $1.39, $1.54 there, so about a 14, 15-cent risk. On a percentage basis, still not a bad risk to reward. Could probably fit that risk area in there, oh no, probably almost 3 times there. So HLGN, a nice one, also from this nice tight pre-market range. A lot of the times, you might look at this area right here and you're like, well, it doesn't seem very liquid, but from my experience, a lot of the times it just doesn't matter once it breaks that level. Typically, if the volume is there, you're going to get a good lift. How long is the lift going to last? Don't know. This is one of the ones I was in today, and I remember this candle distinctly. I'm like, man, this thing is just crushing it. But look how, I mean, by the time this high right here got hit, 193, as my speech synthesizer is calling out HLGN over and over, by the time you looked at it, it was already, you know, getting half that candle back. So that's how quickly things were pulling back today. And of course, all we have to do to kind of gauge where it might stop, take a look over here at the daily. Nice little wick up to this congestion area back here and right back down again. So not a bad pre-market play there, or can't say pre-market play, but regular session play based on that pre-market range there. Another early one that went kind of well today, but quickly peeled off as well. SOBR coming in right there at $1.48, and this one topped out not quite at $1.68, so not quite 20 cents on a $1.50 stock there. So not knocking it out of the park as far as dollars go, but from a percentage basis, not too shabby. And you know, a little thin in the pre-market area, but once again, doesn't really matter once these areas get breached here. Of course, SOBR has been kind of having its day for the past 4 or 5 days, but presented some decent upside opportunity, but you had to take the money while it was there. All right. We will get to the ones that set up again in the regular market in a minute. Now, FFIE, I don't think that one, actually, yeah, it just did it way late. Because, you know, you first look at it and you're like, well, wow, nope, that's still pre-market. But I looked at this one this morning. I'm like, no way, it's expended way too much energy getting up there. The funny thing is it still had a little bit of leg in it, right? But the first tick in the regular session in that second 5-minute candle, actually the first candle did break there, right about the 101 mark, but it only took a little ride up to 112. So too much to risk here, all right? You know, who's to say, oh, pick this level, pick this level. You know, you're picking the majority of the pre-market level. Just too nasty, too choppy. That's not what I look for in the pre-market, right? So passed on this one. Having said that, it did have another dime in it, but who wants to risk all this chop to make a dime, right? So that was FFIE. Let's see here. Okay, now let's get to one where we had 2 opportunities. And of course, this is one of the ones that did come late in the day. PPSI, we get the pre-market range break here at the 365 level. It did go, only about 15 cents or so, but it still went. Now, this one really caught me by surprise at the end of the day because what's this, 1:35 my time, right? Which was 2:35 Eastern time. So, you know, you're thinking this one's dead for the day, get the pre-market range break, get the nice little pop, all the way back down though, all the way back down. But obviously there was really a buyer in this one, comes all the way back up here, cracks it again, 381, takes a little run up to 410 or so. So I'm definitely going to be keeping my eyes on this one tomorrow. I didn't trade today because it just didn't look like it had enough oomph in it. You know, you're looking at a negative, you're looking at a loser here, right? Looking at the bottom of the pre-market. So anytime I see, you know, levels like this, you know, didn't even hit the trade, but, you know, seeing it stop there, you know, come back through the entry line underwater, kind of looks like a Holly trade from today. But seeing the strength in it at the end of the day and these volume metrics right here, 8.8, and that volume on the 5-minute was pretty jacked up all day. It's a low floater, 2.68, and it pretty much traded the float level today. So going to be keeping an eye on PPSI outside of whether or not it shows up on races tomorrow. All right, question from Mitchell. Jamie, generally, how many are you trading at once? It just kind of depends on, you know, like I wasn't in a whole lot. I wasn't in more than 2 or 3 positions today at any given time. Mitch, just due to the market conditions. If market conditions look a little rosier tomorrow, say we get a lift off that bottom with a little, maybe we gap up or gap down a little bit. If the market feels strong tomorrow, and it just didn't feel strong today, and let me kind of expound on that today. Usually, especially after the first hour, because I'll hit some of these trades that look good on the pre-market range for risk early on with reduced size, just to be in them, to hopefully be in some of the ones like Milco today. But I really start taking the size up at the 30-minute mark once I've got 6 5-minute candles to look at. And so my favorite times are the 30-minute opening range breaks and then the hourly ones, okay? But at the hour mark today, my ticker right here, which is tied to my liked list, it was pretty dead. I was like, what's going on here? This doesn't look normal, okay? So here's the 9:30 mark. We had a few come through, but it was all the same ones, ALLK, APE, and then there just weren't a whole lot of names coming through, okay? So yeah, ALLK and APE are all over the place, but those were the only guys firing, okay? So when you see things like that, that's the market telling you something. Look, out of 42 stocks, 41, 42 stocks that you've got on your My Like list, only 2 of them are hitting highs right now. So, that tells me all I need to know. Usually this thing's jabbering away because I've got text to speech. So, listen to what the market's telling you or not telling you in this case. So I limited my, the number of trades that I was going to be in today and was just super, super selective because of, what the market was doing as a whole. All right, so let's see. Get back on track here. Okay, PPSI, we just looked at. ALLK, okay, a nice little pre-market range breaker again, okay? Last tick of the pre-market, just busted above there, opened up right here. So we got a level, even if we count the high of that pre-market wick, 574 up to 648 on ALLK. Once again, based around the risk here. And of course, just like we focus on regular session opening range breaks, if you're a wick person, use your wicks, okay? Makes your risk more in this case, or if you're a candle body person, it's up to you, right? My eyes gravitate to right here. So, we're looking at a risk there of about 20 cents or so. And this thing gave a lot more than that today. But once again, S&P kind of drug everything down today, but still not a bad risk to reward, as we can see right here. And a nice big fat juicy reward area there. All right, SHPH is next. Not a bad one today. Well, SHPH. Okay, so now notice we're getting into some of the better looking double asterisk here. Nice setup in the pre-market, and then presented another break in the regular session. So here we have SHPH as it breaks that pre-market range there at 608, and not the best risk to reward on that one, but it still worked. Pretty much kind of like a 1-to-1 there. And look what happens. We get that nice move from 611 up to almost 680, and then boom, a pullback all the way back down to the entry level, but it held that level pretty good. All right, then takes another run up and pops the highs right there at that 680 level. Goes ahead and tops out at 740. So this thing, this thing was moving around pretty good today and presented two pretty high quality entries. One based on the pre-market, little consolidation in the regular session, and then right about 11 o'clock my time, 12 o'clock Eastern, we get another pop. But once again, you got to take the money on these while it's there. It's one thing I'm getting accustomed to is, when you see something up, your percentage amount, okay? And that amount is going to be different for each and every person, but especially on these smaller dollar runners, you know, as soon as I get up 5-6% in something, I'm taking half off the table and seeing what the other half does. You just never know which ones are going to continue, even if there is room on the chart, or even if my next high low here is spitting out a good juicy metric like 10%, 12%. Just because the room is there does not necessarily mean they're going to run. So I'm not hesitating to lock in profits today. Do I leave some on the table? Almost every day, of course, but you know, I've learned to deal with that. So 2 entries on SHPH based on pre-market, and then another setup in the regular market. Now here's the one that I'm kicking myself over and over today for not taking. And you know, it's funny how your gut works, because I haven't seen Ape coming across a lot of races, especially last week. You know, it's been kind of floundering around, trying to find a bottom here as we look at the daily on this AMC preferred. But it would have paid some dividends today. Okay, this one did it in reverse, okay? These with the double asterisk, they set up nice in the pre-market range, and then they set up in the regular session. Ape did it in reverse today, because here we can see pre-market range way up here, okay? But now we're looking at the opening candle from today. So for the first 10 minutes, we ran up here, we put in this high. Obviously the low was down here. All right, then we crept up here about 10:10 Eastern time and broke this level right here. So it's breaking the regular session range with this nice little, not quite a U shape because we got this low candle here, but a nice little pull, rise up to the high, and then boom, as soon as it tags it right here, off to the races. For some reason, I just didn't, I'm like, just didn't do it for some reason. And of course, that's the one I keep kicking myself for, because I got to hear my ticker go ape, 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 reminding me that I was not in the trade. But then, and what's funny is a lot of these, I'll go, well, if it's breaking out in the regular session, then it might want to go test the pre-market highs. There were several back here that did that. HLGN was one. And of course, that's exactly what ape did. Perfect entry on the regular session opening range break, and then boom, as we crack this candle wick from way back here at the 361 level, boom, it was just off to the races at 4. I remember telling some of the guys, ape's gonna go test 4 today after I missed it, and that's exactly what it did. So nobody's fault but mine on that one. The synapses blow every once in a while, and all I can tell you is I'll be more aware of that moving forward. But ape was a great mover today. Not too shabby. And ape coming out of the doldrums there might be a good one to keep an eye on for tomorrow. One of the things that led to my bad decision is I was like, it's early in the morning and the relative volume wasn't that high, right? 1.81 is what it finished on the day. Of course, the 5-minute volume, it was kicking pretty good. So, all right, no harm, no foul. Just didn't get that ape money today. Okay, POLA. Now, once again, a little spotty in the pre-market, but once again, my experience tells me that it really doesn't matter. I'm just using it as a reference point, and can I stomach the loss if I'm wrong? Doesn't matter if it's really liquid. I'm more concerned about the, you know, the size of the range. So once again, POLA, nice little break here around the 271 level. As soon as the market opens, and we get a nice run up to 3. So once again, not a whole lot of dollars, not a whole lot of cents in here, but that's not a bad percentage level, and that's certainly not a bad risk to reward level. POLA, obviously some kind of buyer in there today, because didn't pull back all the way to our entry level. So you could have sat this one and still been up. You could have plugged out here. But what do we have over here? 2 hours before the close, boom. And especially when you see a stock doing something like this in a market condition, in market conditions that we had today, you know, always begs to take a chance. But Pola is very strong today, and you could have got another 20-cent pop off of a $3 stock. Once again, not a bad risk to reward ratio there. So if we took this entry candle here and went 5, 10, 15, looking at the prior low of the prior 15 minutes, say maybe that one, a little 2-for-1 action there on, you know, a late in the day trade on a stock that was strong. So Pola only finishing at 4, a little over 4 on the relative side. Once again, it's a low floater. So I will be watching this one tomorrow, whether or not it comes across races or not. All right. The rest of these are just going to be pre-market guys because, you know, obviously there weren't a whole lot breaking out in the regular session. Most of them were just rolling over. But hey, money's money, whether it's off the pre-market range or the regular session. CENN, not bad, nice and tight, $1.03. And once again, you know, when you see the anomalous candles, you know, you can always go to the mean. This would have got you in a little earlier at 99 cents. If you waited for the real breach, you're paying up another 4 cents, but you know, somewhere around $1 up to $1.14, not a bad percentage gain on some of these small stocks. Not knocking it out of the park over here as far as volume goes, but the move was true. KOLD. Just wanted to show this one because, yeah, it did get a little bit of a lift from 1744 to 1778. So even though it expended all of this energy, and when I see something like this, I'm typically just shying away. But just to point out the power of the pattern, you still got a little bit of lift here. Now, it's not something that I look for, but a lot of the times on these on these pre-market ranges, it simply just doesn't matter. You know, so if you do go to engage something that looks like this on the pre-market, you better be very light on your feet. But once again, just wanted to point one out that I don't find conducive due to the pre-market range. It looks more like a regular session there, and especially with these nasty wicks in there, don't really want to go engaging those types of stocks. You know, I got a good tip from one of my buddies that's been trading probably as long as I have, who's reemerged into the scalping scene and using the races to do so. And he said something very interesting to me the other day. He's like, you know what? I've been having a lot of success with the races on these thicker stocks, and all I'm doing is I'm avoiding any name that has tons of wicks. I started thinking to myself, well, there might be some merit to that. So that's the next type of little spin I'm going to try to put on these, is trying to eliminate a lot of the big wicks for obvious reasons. Now, will I be successful at that? Don't know. We'll find out. All right, DNA. People have seen this name a million freaking times. A little big on the pre-market range, but still did well as it busted it today. Probably looking no more than a 1-for-1 right there on the risk to reward. 278 up to 290, so a whopping 12 cents on DNA, but nonetheless a nice 1-for-1 there. And I believe we're going to round it out here. BBIO. And once again, a lot of the times the range doesn't matter, or you know, the what do we got here? 950 to 974, so risking about a quarter. I misspoke there. I didn't say the range doesn't matter, but the thinness of the range, the lack of liquidity in the range is what I should have said. but 975, yeah, about 45 cents on that move right there. But just like everything else, if you didn't take it, it didn't stay up there very long. So, you know, typically we're going to have some higher quality examples, some better examples of ones that did meet a nice pre-market range break and then set up in the regular market. But since you know, the world almost ended today, didn't really have a lot of those today. But even in market conditions of this nature, looking at all the ones that we've just done, only going long, that shows you the power of the races and how it helps us find things that, well, are going up in a down market. So when the market's going up, we're just going to have more things to choose from. But sticking to this nice pre-market range break for early trades, and then the same old shtick for the opening range breaks in the regular session, hasn't failed to produce a nice handful of winners on any given day. You just have to be patient and wait for the right things and don't get too chasey. All right, so unless there are any questions regarding the races or any of the patterns that we've looked at today, what I'll do is I will drop a layout link in case you want what you see right here, and along with a couple of the custom filters that you're going to see in this new high-low ticker right here, which is pointed to your My Like list. You got next high-low percentage and next high-low decimal value. And then for this particular race here, we're going to have change in 1 minute has to be inserted as a custom formula as well. So I'll just drop those in there. And those should be in the chat panel. And that's about it for today. So Scott, if you're ready to walk us on out, it is that time.
Yeah, thank you. Just on my mute button. Yeah, a couple things on the way out. If you don't already have it, grab the My Favorite Strategy Indicators ebook by our Director of Software Marketing, Dave Mabe. It's got some great ideas in there for you to use and some cloud links you can just import directly into your layout. We also have a partnership with Interactive Brokerage that allows you to connect our Brokerage Plus module directly to them to automate your trading. Just go to trade-ideas.com/IBKR and learn how to manage your portfolio, trade directly from the Trade Ideas, automate your trading. We also do a similar thing with E-Trade with Interactive Brokerage. With Brokerage Plus. Just go to trade-ideas.com/E-Trade, and the difference between that and IBKR is that the E-Trade integration allows you to trade with no commission. So if you're already an E-Trade client, check that out. Use the code FASTDATA to save 15% off your first month or year of Trade Ideas. Also visit that pricing page link if you're interested in signing up today, because we have an offer expiring at midnight that lets you really save on an annual plan. And you can find us on YouTube. We're Trade Ideas there. We're Trade Ideas Pro on Facebook. Jamie Hodge is QuantBot on Twitter. Steve is TI Steve G on Twitter also. He's also got a TikTok that you can find if you follow him on Twitter. And shoot any of your questions to info@tradeIdeas.com. Goes to our help desk. We will get the recording of this up later on tonight or tomorrow and send you an email tomorrow with the link how to find it on our YouTube channel. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Steve. Everyone have a good afternoon.
See you next time.
See ya.